Look, welcome back to Survivor Palau. Stephanie
Stephanie's out,
is
man.
out.
I liked her. I was commenting last time. I liked her wavy hair. It was
Oh,
really
wow,
pretty. I
yeah,
liked it.
that's the
Yeah.
best thing about her.
The best thing about her was just that she was like, no, it was just, she's a freaking gamer. All right,
And
jeez.
she was there, she was present so much this season because she's literally, the entire pre-merge was all oolong, so like she was at the center of all that. She was the one to make it
Hmm.
out, and then it was like, let's follow the story of following Stephanie into the merge. She was the protagonist, basically.
Yeah, but not anymore.
So,
Greg is trying to assume that role now. He's trying
Greg,
to come in.
Greg has like very little entertainment value. he's
Yeah,
just
no,
like
he
he's
doesn't.
just like I just I don't want that story anymore. It's like exciting Stephanie story going in. He's like,
This
let's
is
put
like,
a
no,
stop to
we
this.
we He's like, can't you see the narrative forming? How she's, did that, and now she's good. We can't let that happen. I thought it was just like we can't have it, and
Fair
it's like
enough.
that's great. It's like we like stories. People like stories, but he's like, nah. People like stories, but my
It's
story is the
like
one that you're gonna
it's
remember.
like they're probably in the
And
confessional. Like, but have you considered like maybe a more boring person voting them out? She's like, no, shut
no,
up. It's I get it's a beautiful story, but god damn it.
but this is $1 million here. I'd take $1 million over a beautiful story any day.
But what? How about some other options? Like maybe not
No,
Stephanie. No.
no.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Yo, that's why we joked last episode. It was like we knew exactly where he stood. Like he didn't have to say anything because we knew he doesn't like her. That's like literally what he's been saying for the last 3 episodes.
But it's like I said before, it was quite a thing to have to overcome. Is the fact that everyone has already been resolved to vote her out. Not that like she was
Yeah,
likely to be voted out; she was going to be voted out. Everybody
right.
came into that tribal council going to vote her out, and now like just by the genu of it all,
The genu
she
of it
stayed
all. Yeah,
in. So it's not like their mindset's still the same.
it
They were
is. Yeah,
willing to
well,
make that decision last
that's
episode. So
yeah, that's why you really gotta like. That's why you really gotta like pump and pressure him and everything. To really sort of get him to change their mind. But
and she
didn't seem
tried.
like,
She tried
yeah,
with the women,
she did. She
but
did. She tried,
but
but
Karen,
not enough.
Karen moment.
Karen's a little snitch. You know,
Oh,
I'm
she's a
telling
little
you,
snitch.
well, a little tattletale.
Fucking
You see, the
snitch.
girls are trying. The girls, your name's coming up everywhere. All the girls are trying to rally against you. It's like, what is it? You freaking like little like a Igor here? Like, what you little toady? Are you Iago telling Jafar like, well, he?
Basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of
He
like what
flies
happened. That's
back.
what it felt like. That's sort of what it felt like, But
Yeah, but we'll
but
see.
yeah,
I mean, you can't knock it until you see it further along.
I'm excited to see where it continues. I mean, now it is like it's all fully just Karor. So
Yeah,
we gotta figure out
three
who's who.
men. Who's who in the zoo? Three men, three
Who's
women.
yeah. What's well, hey, three men, three women in a zoo. Yeah, there you go. I guess
Anything could
that's what
happen.
you get. Anything could happen. Um,
Noah's
yeah,
Ark.
I mean, it is kind of up in the air right now a little bit. I think my power rankings were probably what's going to happen, but I
So
don't
you
know.
think
We'll see.
Karen, based on your power rankings, it was Tom, Greg, Ian, Katie, Jen, Karen. Karen would be
Um,
your prediction.
yeah, unless they're feeling like Katie does something, maybe they can rally against Tom. I don't know. It's hard to say.
We got to split up this power couple, Greg and Jen.
Greg and Jen, they got an alliance,
Jen is
but
too
so
powerful in this game.
Jen, is,
We've all been thinking
Jen
it.
has Jen has all the power in this game. Jen's like literally playing the Amber role, except she has like less, like 3 times less
Yeah.
agency, if that was
And I
possible.
mean, she just needs to latch on to Tom. Like Tom needs to be the boyfriend for that to fully
Yeah,
fit.
for
Because Greg's not
for
quite in
fully
that role. Greg
this.
could
Yeah,
find himself
yeah,
in that role, but right now Tom's
but
the guy. He is that
but he's
guy.
he's not a New York fireman at 9/11 though. So
Well,
yeah.
shout out to Tom
Sorry.
for that one.
Yeah, shout out for Tom.
Tom's a real Tom's a real one for that one.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's the game aside, like wow, what a freaking champion, like a
Mm.
hero. Like
But I
that's
mean, In terms of
Not
entertainment, I feel like Tom has given us the most. Like, he's the most interesting to watch out of the remaining people for sure.
which is crazy to which is honestly I know we're kind of going along in the intro here, but it was like it's kind of crazy to like think about. Like you wouldn't expect he doesn't like when he's talking, you're not thinking like, wow, he's the most charismatic person I've ever seen in my life. But
Mm-hmm.
like you just kind of like are able to he just sort of comes at you in a way where you're just kind of like, yeah, I kind of agree with that. You know, he just has a very like matter of fact, like,
Yeah,
yeah, this is just how it's gonna be, and
he's got a
this is how it
presence about
is.
him.
Yeah,
It's like he's a, a figure of authority out there.
yeah.
But it's like
Just like whether he wanted to
even
be
though
or
he is
not.
the guy in power, is like still somehow you feel like you want to root for him. It's like
You want to root for him, you want to kind of trust him,
he's
and
out there
like,
catching sharks. He's doing his thing.
yeah, he's got like he has like little relationships with everyone. Karen we hadn't seen until like literally last
Yeah,
episode, but you
the
have like him and Ian are been really bonded like a lot. They have like a full father son dynamic kind of going on there, and uh, him and Katie get along, seem to get along pretty well. Him and Greg talk strategy all the time.
mhm.
Jen is there, and yeah, so it's like wow, it's all
Yeah, but it's just interesting to see that this kind of person, their take on the game and how they
mm,
approach it.
yeah.
And man, so far he's just smooth sailing. So we'll see if it continues for him.
Yeah, up in the apple cart sometime.
Surely,
Try it now,
surely they
guys.
will.
Surely.
It happened with Boston Rob, right? Mm, well, you might have
Well,
to wait till the final episode.
I guess we will. I guess we will have to.
All right.
But this episode, we're going to be reacting to, and you can click down in the comments section below, and by the comments I mean the description below, to link it to highlights of the reaction.
And then come
Yeah,
back afterwards for the discussion. Okay.
because we'll still have more discussion after that.
Okay, so there you have it. Episode 12, Survivor Palau. Greg. Big Greg,
This
three
the
G's.
script. The
He's out of here.
script 3G Greg. He get the script is flipped. They flipped the script a
So
little
this is
bit.
not what you would have expected, huh? But
No,
look,
not at
so
all.
many times in Survivor history, it's like these reward challenges is just like puts things in perspective, and it's like, well, we're split up, and then also the combination of this freaking status or hierarchy challenge again, where you can target each
Yeah,
other. It's like a
yeah,
combination of those two. So it's
yeah.
like,
And that one did seem to actually like upset people. Like Ian was kind of like, "Yo, this is messed up,"
you
you
know,
know?
Katie. Basically, like they told each other they were going to take each other on the next reward, and then
Mm-hmm.
they had an opportunity to do that here, and she takes him out. And then because
And then she
Greg
just
said
gets,
that he would protect her, and then she gets taken out. But then Greg takes Jen and Katie, so it's like they're just left to stew on it, like Tom. And it
mm,
just happened to be that they all seemed to be pretty aware that it was going to be a 3-3 split, and
yeah,
so the plan was to have a tie and then hope that Katie would switch on a revote. But Ian, he had that little interaction with her sister's husband,
yeah,
or he said that he would protect her, and he actually wants to protect her. So he wanted to give her a heads up, and it worked
yeah,
out. It didn't ruin things. It actually just made it
yeah.
simpler for them.
She did, yeah. Even though she was like, "Well, I know you're only saying that because you want to take me because it'll give you a better chance in
Hmm.
the end." But I,
It's
I I don't know if it would. I mean, I think he has a point that I think it would be probably a little closer than she's making it sound. I don't think it
mm,
would be. I think he would edge her out, but I don't know if it would be like a complete blowout. Like, yeah, we get it. We're the Ian.
mm.
He's clearly he's the guy.
But it's
But
also she might think her best route is to go with Greg and Jen, but
can you split? You really can't split Greg and Jen
what's
up,
their
really.
plan to get to the end with Jen somehow? Because
Yeah,
I feel like Greg is just as similar to Ian in that you wouldn't think she could beat him just as much
yeah,
as Ian,
right.
but still, I
Greg,
mean,
I think would be much tougher to go up against. Yeah, for sure,
I
easily.
don't know, but if it's
Yeah.
her perspective, it's kind of like the Jenna Lewis in All Stars, where it's like she could have forced the tie
Mm.
at the final four between Rob and Rupert,
Hmm.
but she decided to just vote Rupert out because she didn't want to put herself at risk there.
Right.
And it's like, and she wasn't ultimately that probably is what she needed to do, is to make that risk in order to have a chance at the game. It might be that kind of scenario where like your path to winning the game is so narrow that you might have to do something like that.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, might be something that Katie might look back on and regret, but she's decided to opt for the option that'll let her last longer in the game rather than maybe the most, what she thinks is the most ideal option for her to win the
Right.
game.
Right.
So, but we'll have to see. Again, it's hard to tell without hindsight. So, but
Yeah. Yeah.
still,
It
I mean, we're
is.
down to the
But
final five here: Tom, Ian, Katie, Jen, and Karen.
yeah,
So,
no Greggy boy.
yeah, I mean,
He's
the women you could try again, get the women together.
yeah, but it's like Tom is the dominant force. I mean, it was Tom and Ian at the end here.
I feel like these guys are in a pretty good spot now, especially
Yeah.
since Greg is out. Like, in terms
Yeah.
of challenges, those two seem like the ones that would win
Yeah. And
challenges.
so it's whoever's left. I mean, we'll have to see what in terms of what alliances form. They could do another like women are gonna go up against the men now, maybe.
But I don't think Karen will be
But
on board with that.
I don't think Karen will be on board with that because I think her best bet probably does literally lie with. I don't know, Karen. Yeah, I don't know. Karen has been coming in last a lot recently. So
And does Jen have the chutzpah to do something now that Greg is
or
gone?
or is she going to be a pouty little kid like we saw at the very end? She was kind of like she
And the
was
Katie
really like
and Ian
upset.
of it all, we saw in the freaking preview.
Preview. Yeah, they like look like they had like a freaking like a lover's quarrel is what it looked like. Like Ian's like
Yeah.
sobbing on the ground and she's like she's like screaming at him that she lied to her and he's like, "Well, I didn't know." It's like, oh my gosh, there's like,
I mean, they're obviously
like
very close, even
yeah,
so. Like, that's obviously going to be
yeah.
some
He
sort of complication here.
freaking promised her brother, "I will protect her." I was like, wow, that's like a very very like you know chivalrous thing to do. Especially when this person also like turned their back on you, just like not a day ago.
Yeah.
So, not one day ago. And also she got to go swim with dolphins, aka your profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got family members out of that too.
Yeah, what a wild it's kind of a getting that's what I mean. I said getting cucked, and it totally is. You totally is
That's
in that
what I
one
heard,
because it's
especially
like
because like it was gonna be at least like a little bit of satisfaction in the fact that Katie got left out. You know, like she betrayed him,
yeah.
but then got cut out of the challenge anyway.
And
But then
it's like, nah, I gotta
she
bring
gets part of it, so it's like, oh, that doesn't feel good.
no.
She got
And it
rewarded
was
for
like,
it, basically, for betraying
yeah.
me in that challenge. So
Yeah, which is it's wild, and then
I mean, Katie kind of did that to herself, and like she was frustrated with Ian when she was like, "Well, I don't like that he just like last minute pulled me up and just said this is what we're doing." But like, yeah,
it was
I
like, well,
mean,
what do you what do you expect? Like they don't what? I mean, it was kind of apparent that it was like stuff wasn't going to be easy to determine what to do next. So like obviously they had to have some strategy. I guess maybe she didn't like being like told what to do or how to vote maybe or something, but like it seemed like he just sort of reasonably explained like this is what's going to have to happen in order for us to keep going, otherwise it will go to a tie.
And we don't know.
And it'll be decided with rocks if it just stays with a tie. So
Okay, well, important part of this actually is that they showed rumblings of them talking about voting Tom out, and they didn't do that. They ended up going back to like sticking with the five. They were going to vote Karen out.
they were going to vote Karen out.
So
ultimately
they didn't betray the alliance. That Tom, Ian, and Tom and Ian betrayed the five. So like they didn't actually go through with putting Tom's name down, even though he wasn't safe.
Which is weird. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Actually, they didn't even really talk about that. Did they?
But it's like, well, the initial thing was the final five alliance. You know, they left Karen out, and Ian and Tom and Karen were expecting Karen to be written down, but then we had the brewing of we should get Tom out now, and they said that in the reward, but maybe they
said that in the reward, but I guess maybe they just didn't feel like they went back on it because like when after the immunity challenge, they were all sort of talking and being like, oh, Karen's pretty decided she's going home, and they're like, yeah, she's gonna go home. All right, and it was kind of like
yeah, I thought it was like a ruse on both ends where they were like,
yeah,
oh, perfect, they think Karen's going home, but really we're voting Tom. And the other side, there's like, perfect, they think that Karen's going home, but really we're voting Greg.
Yeah.
But really they thought it was going to be Karen.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of weird.
It would be Greg. And Ian pushed it over so they didn't even have to deal with the time mess. So in letting Katie know that did make it easier for him.
Yeah, because that's an easy way to try to convince somebody, because like you don't want to leave it up chance for someone else, you know. It's like, what if that person that ends up is somebody that's favored to you? So then like that sucks.
Yeah, well, they thought she would do it on the revote, but it's like it's putting a lot of hope in that moment that she would make that decision.
Right.
So yeah, it makes sense.
It does, yeah. It made sense that
Lady Katie.
Late Katie, yeah. What did he call her?
Shady Lady Katie.
Shady Lady Katie. That's got to be the episode title.
So I mean, that was fun. Like the targeting challenge, Greg kind of gamed that challenge. So he actually he like social politicked his way through that challenge. Usually that's how it goes. But he like convinced, he like formed a temporary alliance with Katie within the challenge. He's like, don't turn on me, I'll keep you safe. And then he immediately chops her down. He's like, oh, well, it's Jen. You can't blame me, it's Jen. We're best buddies.
Yeah.
Me and Jen.
Me and Jen. Friends to the end.
And then
Jen.
His best friend from home, Greg, came and massaged his
feet. My God, freaking Greg. Greg is my best friend Greg. It's like a friggin' sitcom.
It's like way too many G's at that point. Like,
yeah, does that Greg also have 3 G's?
He's got 6, dude. It's crazy. That's 3 G's in the front, 3 G's in the back. Greg.
3 G's, 2 G's up front, 3 G's in the back. What's this? Aggregate.
Aggressor 2.
Aggressor 2. Yeah, that's the aggressor 2.
There's a couple of G's in there too. Maybe
no, what was I? Shoot, I had something I was gonna say about like a freaking crazy weird names, but I don't remember anymore because I'm quite tired.
Yeah,
it's very late.
I forget what Tom said though when he stepped in. He strutted in with his like. He had his 108 truck shirt on his head, and he strutted in, and he said some interesting line. I forget what it was. It was like when they were talking about when they'd just been left off of the reward, and he was talking about how they're gonna pay for it potentially.
I remember. I was gonna say there was there was a guy in college who was in our men's choir that we just called him Greg a lot. We just because I guess I don't know. And he's like, my name's Chris. My name is Chris. It's not Greg. Everyone calls me Greg. Just, and so then I made a obscure All-Gen Gamers reference by calling him Gary every once in a while. Because that was Games 31's brother, Greg. John called him Gary for like a whole day. Mistakenly, it was never corrected. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So my MVP this time around, a lot of important players, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things happening. I think
this is easy for me.
Wildly, is it for you? I'd say
who's at the center of everything?
I mean Tom is basically the center of everything, but Katie was the dominant force in this episode, you know?
All right.
So it's Katie. It's all about Katie. It's always been about Katie, really. What do you think about it?
No.
I don't know about that, but yeah, Katie for me this episode. Clear.
What did Katie do?
What do you mean? What'd she do? She was the deciding factor in the
She got told what to do by Ian.
Is Ian the? Would you say Ian?
Yeah, I would say Ian. Ian put this whole thing together basically, and Ian told Katie and got it to happen.
I guess Ian did sort of force her hand, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ian won the challenge. Yeah, Ian won the challenge. Ian
Katie
forced
got
the hand.
over in all this.
Ian got screwed by Katie. He didn't screw Katie. He got screwed by her, and not in a good way. And he also promised her brother-in-law that he would protect her.
You're in a delusional state. I don't think you're qualified to give an MVP at this time.
I don't know if I am. I'm gonna say I'm gonna change my answer, and I'm gonna agree with my friend Zach. I'm gonna say Ian. Ian does seem to be the proper.
I could have manipulated
MVP.
You into saying anyone there. I could have said Jen. Could have convinced you that.
No, you could not convince me of that. No, you couldn't. You could.
Jen I draw was the line. Pivotal role in this one.
I draw the line at Jen. All right, so. Yeah, you could have convinced me that Katie's name was Jen or something.
Jen voted. Jen was the pivotal vote that got Greg out. So.
Yeah.
What's your power ranking, sir? 1 to 5.
All right. We got.
Show me your work too.
Show me my work. Okay. Well, we got Tom and Ian. Tom and Ian. Mm-hmm. Ian's really almost coming up number 1 at some point here, but I'm still gonna keep it with Tom and Ian because Tom is just a man among boys, and Tom is that guy. But then after this, we got who we got next. In terms of the pecking order, I think it goes Karen, Katie, Jen. There's a lot of shuffling around with these ladies, but I think Karen, I think now, because of this reward thing that happened in this episode, I think Karen is kind of established herself now as their third. Yeah, I think so.
But the Ian and Katie of it all might be a complication, but
that's it. Yeah.
Jen is clearly on the outs right now.
Yeah,
she's
very clearly
left out on her boo got voted out. Otherwise known as Bestie.
Otherwise known as she's my best. She was a good friend to me. It's just a good friend.
Shout out to Jen for being a good friend. Hope she's
no husband, just friend.
She's gonna be a great friend for life. I love when they do that. They do that in like other reality shows too, like Big Brother. I heard that too.
It's just like what
as
a good
soon as
friend.
They get out of the house, they're like, yeah, she's a great friend, huh? She's been really a great friend for us.
They don't want to talk about the fact they like hooked up or whatever.
No, like they know it, but because they'll be like interviewing and be like, "So, what's the future hold for you two?" It's like, "Oh, we are great friends. She's a sweetheart.
Just a great person."
There you go. We're down to the final 5.
There it is, the final 5. We're coming down to the wire here. There's not a lot of Survivor left. We only have 2.
Yeah, and as we know, once we finish this season, we'll be watching no more Survivor ever. So it is the end.
That is not true. But
no more Survivor to be had.
What are you talking about?
The show ends at season 10. By the end of this, I have you convinced that we're not watching any more Survivor.
Says the man at the end of hey, you might be able to try to gaslight me now because I'm exhausted, but you can't do it when I'm a full mind and body.
Well, there's a reason you're not doing a YouTube channel with someone else, right? Because you trust me. You trust me more than them.
I do. Well, I mean, that's partially true. If Rusty was like, "Hey, Alec, I want to start up a YouTube channel," I'd be like, "Okay."
No, but I'm more trustworthy than Rusty, though. You know that. That's why you're here.
You learning some techniques from Tom. Is that what's going on right now? Love Tom. Tom's teaching Zach some bad things.
Teaching time with Tom.
That's it.
Thanks for watching. What video would you recommend our viewers watch after this?
Go watch Produce Ryan Origin.
Episode 1 of Survivor Pearl Islands.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that that's actually like 3 seasons ago? It's like
that is crazy to think about. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah, it's so fresh.
It really doesn't. But
so almost as fresh as the produce.
Was that was I still living at my parents' place with that one, or had we moved? No. Had I moved here? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. I feel like you probably did.
Yeah.
I was in middle school still at that point.
Oh yeah. So there you go. There you have it. thanks for watching.
Crazy. We watched the first season. When we watched the first season, I was in first grade.
I was in.
Can you imagine? Like, we started watching Survivor like elementary school, and then it just tracks all the way till now. It's like we're on season 30, and we're 30 years old. You know, you can go watch it back and watch us watching Borneo when we were 8.
We were 8. You couldn't even make a YouTube channel if you were that young, though.
Yeah. Right. Well, we adjust our birthdays.
We could adjust it a little bit, yeah. Well, back then you probably could actually, but you know.
Well, I famously lost my Twitter account for me not being old enough retroactively.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I never got it back.
Wow,
that's my ZRPG Twitter account from 2009 because it was like.
Where's the blue check mark? All right, that's all I'm asking.
At some point, it like gave me an option to add a birthday to it, and then it like retroactively said, "Oh, you weren't old enough to create an account when you created your account." So then I got locked out of my account. And I was like,
"That's wild." I didn't even know that was
I'm 21 years old now, bro.
Yeah.
22, whatever it was at the time.
Well,
and it's like
you screwed up.
You're really gonna hold me accountable? Like, oh, you weren't 12, you weren't 13 when you started on Twitter. So now you're locked out.
You done goofed, Zach. All right. That's the moral of the story.
Well, follow me on Twitter at _Zach_Archer_. Okay.
I have a Twitter, but don't bother. There's nothing there.
I never see you on Twitter. You don't even follow me on Twitter. You don't exist on Twitter. Okay.
I don't follow you on Twitter. I don't follow anyone on Twitter.
@_Zach_Archer_. So.
Oh, the underscores.
Yeah. Anywhere you can put it in underscore, you got to put it there. Okay, so that's it. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our podcast feed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook. Tarqaron TWO. Oh, yeah.